Good morning. The ruling Saenuri Party elects a 5-term lawmaker, a representative of the non-mainstream faction of the party, as its chairman, signaling a shift within. Illegal until now, car modifications are given the green light by the government in the move to cut the red tape and boost the local economy. The Smart Highway and Information Society, traffic info and more delivered right to your dash. The humid summers, swimming pools, dry eyes, and pink eyes can be the result if you don't take care of yourself. On Korea Today, July 15th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning and welcome to Korea Today on this Tuesday morning. I'm Kim Min-jung alongside Kim Young and Jin-ju. The stifling weather conditions continue here in Seoul. And yesterday I walked into my car and I thought I was going to be burned alive. It was really, really, really hot.
Yeah, and there are a number of things that you shouldn't be leaving in your car. First is gas-related products such as cigarette lighters and any electronic devices such as cell phones, and most importantly, your kid.
Your kid, that's one thing you don't want to. Even your juice can explode in that heat.
Exactly. You know, you leave a canned soda pop right in there and it explodes. Pets, animals, anything. Even if it's just for 10 minutes, you should not leave them in your car. Take them with you.
If you must, you have to leave the windows open just ever so slightly like that.
All right, the temperatures are hot, so keep yourself a little bit cool out there. And now we'll head on to our first headline for this morning. The Saenuri Party has a new chief, and the choice has ended up shifting away from President Park Geun-hye's circle to a non-mainstream faction of the ruling party. The influential 5-term lawmaker Kim Woo-sung was elected over his rival, Representative Seo Chung-won, a 7-term lawmaker and key confidant of President Park. The growing calls for political reform seemingly took the leadership race towards a new direction expected to change the party's power structure and its relationship with the Park administration.
Our Saenuri Party has a clear goal. I will do my best for the success of Park Geun-hye administration. We must win the next general election and the presidential race. I will make a strong Saenuri Party and a strong Korea.
And the first hurdle for Kim is the July 30th parliamentary by-elections, a crucial test of voter sentiment following the Sewol ferry disaster, which is expected to play a deciding role in the power struggle in parliament.
A presidential committee aimed at gearing up towards reunification will be launched today. President Park Geun-hye told her aides on Monday that the establishment of the Unification Preparatory Committee will boost the public's interest in reuniting the two Koreas, and that the committee will look into various ways to realize the much-envisioned idea. The 50-member organization, chaired by the president herself, is also likely to involve Unification Minister Ryu Gil-jae and other security-related officials, as well as civilian experts who will conduct research and set tasks to be settled. The establishment of the panel is part of President Park's vision for unification, which he has called Bonanza, that had been stalled due to the Sewol ferry disaster. The launch comes a day after North Korea launched some 100 artillery shells into the East Sea near the inter-Korean maritime border.
Periodic safety inspections for nursing homes, orphanages, and areas around traditional markets provided by the government free of charge. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transport will put the Special Act on Safety Management of Facilities into effect beginning today. Social welfare facilities and traditional markets have been inspected by government personnel on a regular basis, but the inspection system has been expanded to include more facilities such as roads and bridges in rural areas, underpasses, overpasses, and cut slopes. To receive a safety inspection, the chief administrator of the facility will need to submit a request to the Transport Ministry.
A survey conducted earlier this year shows that 6 out of 10 Koreans think that automotive tuning is illegal. And analysts attribute this in great part to the government's strict restrictions on the sector until now. But after the Park Geun-hye administration chose car tuning as one of the key businesses coming in line with its push for a creative economy, the government decided to lift many of its regulations on the industry last year and have put forth follow-up measures since then. Let's find out more about the sector and how the regulations have been eased with our Kim Chan-ju. Good morning, Chan-ju.
Good morning, Jinju. Up until last month, tuning your vehicle like this one came with a bit of an obstacle due to a complicated procedure to get government approval. But since the deregulation was announced from the government this month, tuning your vehicle has been much more simplified, enabling individuals to delve into customizing your own car. With that, Korea plans to develop new technology in tuning and also commercialize the industry. So with that, let's find out what the future holds for Korea's tuning industry. An exhibition was held in southern Seoul that showcased the automotive tuning industry in Korea. Over 100 companies participated in the event, which drew a massive crowd of spectators from those in the tuning industry to tuning enthusiasts.
I have seen countless products from China, but I think Korean products are high quality, equal to that of foreign products.
See what kind of rims people put on them and stuff, and how they, do the suspension, how they lower them. And then they have a lot of cool sound systems, like a lot of bass and stuff. That's nice. A lot of lights, too. I like aftermarket lighting myself.
The Korean Intellectual Property Office is now actively supporting the local tuning industry in patent management, starting from the early stages.
Patent management will help Korea's tuning companies build a competitive edge while preventing disputes in intellectual property rights. This will lead to a smooth growth for our tuning industry.
Korea's car tuning market is estimated at 500 billion won, according to the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport. Compared to the U.S. tuning market, which is worth at 35 trillion won, Korea's market only scores 1/60th the size, losing a huge opportunity for job creation. With the deregulation announcement, the government hopes to expand the local market to 4 trillion won, or roughly $4 billion by 2020. Despite its great potential growth, why had the government put restrictions on the local car tuning industry?
Automobile tuning had been restricted due to safety concerns. Korea went through many cases of illegal tuning in the past, with cars projecting loud engine noises or installing illegal headlights. So that is why the government had regulated car tuning.
As per previous tuning regulations, car owners were required to get approval from the government on each tuning product. The government decided to simplify the tuning approval process through an online application and certification issuance on the same day.
There has been no sweeping deregulation, but modifications will be allowed, providing they don't cause any environmental issues. Measures will also be drawn to support and approve legal tuning parts.
Deregulation also allows full-sized vans or cargo trucks to be remodeled into camping trailers or food trucks.
I'm able to run this coffee truck due to the government's deregulation. As a result, I have a new job, and the greatest asset is that I can maintain my own livelihood.
Industry experts say still there is much to be resolved in order to vitalize the auto tuning market.
In the case of other countries, Germany boasts of many tuning brands known as tuners. Internationally renowned tuners like Brabus and AC Schnitzer are playing an essential role in developing premium vehicles with added value and new automobile technology. Korea should do benchmarking from these examples in order to implement them into our own models.
So, Chanju, how could individual car owners who want to modify their cars know whether the tuning they want to do is illegal or not?
Well, to prevent any illegal activities, those who want to change the features should check out the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport website. What's also important is that you should find out that the garage that you're going to go to should be the garage that specializes in tuning like this one for more safe and legal modification. Tuning-related guidelines are provided through the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, as well as Korea Transportation Safety Authority websites. Jinju?
And other than easing regulations, what are some of the government efforts that are being made to boost the car tuning industry here in Korea?
Well, the government is certainly working on creating infrastructure in order to vitalize the tuning industry. Recently, Jeollanam-do Province and Daegu City, famous for holding a Formula One event, have been newly designated as a special zone to foster tuning industry. Lots can be expected through that. First, research and development facilities to produce and test tuning parts. In particular, Daegu is known for having a clustered area of tuning parts. So the government plans to build a special tuning support center along with a virtual experience space for tuning enthusiasts, as well as an exhibition hall displaying tuning parts made by small and medium-sized enterprises. Jinju?
And I understand that the government should do more to promote its deregulation in the sector to let individuals know that a big part of vehicle tuning is no longer illegal. Thanks, Chanju, for that report today. That was our Kim Chanju reporting on Korea's car tuning industry.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. And as you heard at the top of the hour, Saenuri Party Representative Kim Moo-sung was elected as its chairman yesterday, and that announcement is on all of our local papers this morning. We'll go ahead and take a look at how Joseon-ilbo is featuring the story. With this top headline, it says, Saenuri Party breaking away from Park Geun-hye Party. Now, the ruling party's call to elect lawmaker Kim as its chairman for the next 2 years signals a significant change, in fact, in the way the Conservative Party will communicate and work with the Park Geun-hye administration. And this is because Kim is known to have departed from the pro-Park faction in the past. He had deviated from Park loyalists when he openly objected to Park's firm support in establishing the city of Sejong into a special administrative city during the last Lee Myung-bak government. Yesterday, Kim promised many times to restore regular meetings between the Saenuri chair and President Park, making it clear that a ruling party headed by him would make its demands to the president known. And there he is in this image, the ruling party's new leader, after giving an acceptance speech at the party convention held inside Jamsil Stadium in southeastern Seoul. And now moving on to another news on Gyeongyang Shinmun. This one on North Korea's recurrent provocations. The story is titled, North Korea fires increasingly closer from the NLL, pressing South Korea for a policy shift. Now, the NLL, or the Northern Limit Line, is a disputed maritime demarcation line between the two Koreas that extends into the sea from the military demarcation line. If we take a closer look at this article, yesterday North Korea fired about 100 short-range projectiles towards its waters in the East Sea from a launch site close to the inter-Korean border, yet again following Sunday's firings that I reported yesterday. The artillery shells and rockets this time around were launched from a location only some 3 kilometers away from the military demarcation line. A Joint Chiefs of Staff official said it is not unusual for Pyongyang to carry out such a shelling from its east coast, but it is rare that the North has done so this close to the military demarcation line. Now, the paper adds that with the latest persistent provocations, the North seems to be trying to push the South into changing its policy stance towards the reclusive country. Meanwhile, over on 동아일보, some other story regarding what else has been happening between the two Koreas. Amid all of this, North Korea also yesterday fixed the schedule was told to hold talks to send its athletes and cheerleaders for the upcoming Asian Games. The title reads, Sports authorities of two Koreas to meet in Tandong on the 18th. Taking a closer look at this story as well, the two Koreas agreed to meet in Tandong, China this Friday for discussion. But just one day prior to that, they will also hold working level talks at Freedom House on the southern part of the truce village of Panmunjom to discuss the North's plans to dispatch their group of athletes and cheerleaders to this upcoming sports event. Now, 3 officials from each side will gather for that on Thursday. So questions remain on what else the core agenda will be for the Tandong meeting to be held this Friday. And finally, let's take a look at the economy here on the Korea Economic Daily for this story here in the middle. The header says loans up to $70,000 to buy house worth $100,000. So the plan is to ease the current loan to value ratio. Here, as it says in the subheadline, the government is to allow the LTV ratio to be raised to 70%. The current rate is set at 50% here in Seoul. Now, this would mean that if you are to seek buying a $100,000 house, you used to be able to get half of that, which is $50,000 in loans, but now you'd be able to get up to $70,000 in loans. Now, meanwhile, here, if we take a look at this graph, it's showing the amount of residential mortgage loans that has been on a constant and drastic rise within the past 4 years here in Korea. As the end of May this year, the total amount of loans has exceeded $42 billion nationwide. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Tuesday. Now, coming up are the stock numbers from Monday.
The extremely hot weather conditions will continue for today, and this must mean the vacation season will start soon.
You know, well, the vacation season, that's something that we're looking forward to. But I have a feeling that we're going to look like broken records. We're going to sound like broken records for about the next 3 months or so,
That's
because
right.
it's just going to be a hot one, right?
That's right.
All right, we'll get a check on the weather conditions for today and tomorrow with Jeon Sung-cho. She's joining us from Seocho-gu.
Good morning to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Today, the southern regions will be affected by the monsoonal front slowly coming up from the East China Sea toward the peninsula. Jeju is expecting showers up to 40 millimeters starting in the afternoon, and this rain will spread nationwide on Thursday. However, all of this won't be enough to alleviate problems concerning drought all across the country, especially in the central regions. This year's average precipitation remains at 35 millimeters, which is only 1/10 compared to the annual average of 366 millimeters. The Korea Meteorological Administration explains that this is because of a particularly weak high-pressure system over the North Pacific Sea. While a dry monsoon season persists, hot temperatures with high levels of UV rays and humidity are all adding more to discomfort and unpleasantness. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings. Midday highs will hover around 30 degrees in most cities, with Seoul and Gangneung being the hottest at 31. Jeju will be the coolest at just 25 degrees Celsius. The weather conditions these days make it easy for bacteria to grow, potentially causing food poisoning, so follow tips to minimize risk when preparing food. This is all for me with the weather update. Back to you, Minjang.
Let's now get the latest on the news from around the world with our Eunice Kim, who joins us from the News Center. Eunice, good morning.
Good morning, Minjung.
We're learning this morning that Egypt has proposed a ceasefire plan. What more can you tell us?
Right, this news still very fresh and very much developing. Egypt has been working behind the scenes to broker peace, and just about a couple hours ago, news broke of its official proposal to end the cross-border fighting. In just the past 7 days, the conflict has killed at least 185 Palestinians, most of them civilians. According to UN estimates, on Monday, the Israeli military said it shot down a drone launched by militants in the Gaza Strip, the first discovery of Hamas's use of an unmanned aircraft since the offensive launched last Tuesday. Now, it's in this context that Cairo's foreign ministry issued a 3-step ceasefire plan. It would begin with a 12-hour end to all his hostilities, effective immediately, followed by a high-level delegation meeting from both sides within 48 hours. Now, it's about 1:20 in the morning right now in that region, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called his security cabinet to discuss this proposal when the sun rises. No concrete response from Hamas yet. They did confirm diplomatic movement and said it wants an easing of Israeli-Egyptian blockade on Gaza. It remains to be seen how this will play out in de-escalating the conflict, but it certainly is the most significant international effort yet. And this piece of news also just coming in this morning. Reuters reports at least 6 people have been killed and 25 wounded, this time in Benghazi, as Libyan security forces and rival militias clashed with each other. Government offices and banks were forced to close as missiles were launched by forces loyal to former General Khalifa Haftar on Islamist militia bases. The country has fallen into disarray since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi back in 2011. On Sunday local time, local and international flights in and out of a Tripoli airport were grounded when militias engaged there in the worst fighting in 6 months. Flights do remain grounded until at least Wednesday. The United Nations has said it is temporarily pulling all of its staff out of Libya due to the deteriorating security situation there.
We'll keep an eye on that situation. But also on Monday, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe addressed his parliament and defended his controversial push to expand his country's military role, saying it's limited in scope.
Right. It was his first parliamentary session since his administration's decision to reinterpret Japan's pacifist constitution. And Prime Minister Abe stressed on multiple occasions played down the expanded rules of engagement of collective self-defense, saying the newly adapted ability to aid a friendly nation under attack is strictly limited to things like minesweeping in the Middle East. Now, he said Tokyo would require a formal constitutional amendment to engage in collective self-defense similar to that of other countries. Prime Minister Abe also called for talks with President Xi Jinping during a regional meeting due in Beijing in November. Abe made a point of mentioning their massive trading and business ties, saying they had complex links despite rows over territorial and historical grievances. And with that, we'll wrap your look at the global headlines we're following this morning.
And still to come, another genius tech is going mainstream soon, but we're going to bring you the official sneak peek. We'll introduce you to the technology behind the Smart Highway, a cutting-edge system that warns drivers ahead of unexpected situations on the expressway. Stay tuned.
We've seen the success of Broadway musicals here in Korea, whether it's the original Broadway cast or whether it's the Korean cast playing the roles. And we have news of a new musical here that's trying to do exactly that. Lee Myun-hee joins us with more on that. Good morning.
Good morning.
Seeing you.
Good seeing you again. So following on the tail end of the success of hits like Wicked or Three Musketeers, now comes the movie-turned-musical Priscilla. Now, over this summer, we've seen the release of some pretty big productions, such as Cats, some legends in the field, but I think many will agree with me saying Priscilla is something to remember. Take a look.
3 performers set off to put on a show in the backwoods resort town of Alice Springs, Australia. The show is a drag show, and it forms the backdrop for the hit musical Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. The musical is based on the Oscar-winning movie, The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and it features a trio made up of a transgender woman and 2 drag queens. It's been staged all over the world and has collected awards at both Broadway and London's West End. And now Priscilla is being staged for the first time in Asia with a Korean cast. The production utilizes over 500 award-winning, one-of-a-kind costumes and lights up the stage with tens of thousands of LED display lights. To match the upbeat visual aspect of the production, the musical score is made up of popular 80s and 90s pop songs. It's a performance that follows on the tails of hit Broadway musicals, but is sure to make a name for itself.
You know, there was a period of time where musicals, they would flop left and right. Basically, they would not do well. The audience just were not coming in. So they would have these musicals, small scale at places, little theaters in Taegno. And then all of a sudden, one day it just started exploding. The popularity just went sky high. What triggered this?
Right, so we've seen some big, big musicals produced in Korea, but, there really was a game-changer musical, and that's Wicked. The Wicked was, when it was translated into Korean, it brought in over 100,000 spectators, and it was shown so many times. It was absolutely a huge phenomenon here in Korea, and so Wicked really did bring up the attendance in terms of musicals, and really did spark interest in musicals in general.
Okay, I hear that there's news of another musical that's in the works, and this is supposed to be another big one.
Right, so they're also showing another musical called Once. They're in the making of producing it right now. It's won 8 Tony Awards, so another musical with big expectations here in Korea, so we'll have to see what happens, after Cats, after Priscilla as well.
Okay, so now we've seen news of a musical and several others that are in the works right now, but now we're going to change our focus to a symphony orchestra in Korea, one of the biggest ones, right?
Right, so the Korean Symphony Orchestra has booked the stage for this weekend, and they have a very special performance in store. Take a look.
One of Korea's leading symphony orchestras will be filling Seoul Summer Air with classical music. The 192nd regular performance of the Korean Symphony Orchestra will be led by conductor Im Hyun-jung and will feature the works of conductor and composer Gustav Mahler. From 1999 until 2004, for 5 years in Korea, Mahler's works have been performed by the Korean Symphony Orchestra. This time around, Korea's leading symphony orchestra will be performing Mahler's Symphony No. 9, the last completed of his works, at the Seoul Art Center later this week.
I'm not really that familiar on classical music. I'm not that cultured enough just yet, but Mahler, I understand that it is a difficult one, and the conductor made quite a name for himself.
You're right, so it is a very difficult conductor piece to compose. So conductor Im is known as the pioneering edge of classical music here in Korea, and he's known because he did complete the entire Mahler series from 1999 to 2003, so he did perform all the concerts there, and so that was a big feat in terms of Korean classical music here.
What are some of the other performances that are planned for the near future?
So later this year, in November, they are planning on performing Beethoven, which is another big hit, and we'll have to wait and see for that. I'll bring you more updates when that comes around.
All right, we'll be looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
And stay with us on Korea Today, because we're going to be finding out a bit about diseases of the eye, whether it's pink eye, dry eye, the hot, humid summer heat. It does have a tendency to spread this, and most people, they catch it at swimming pools and other activities that involve getting the eyes wet and dirty. Now, this season, the number of patients with ocular infections increased, but we'll try to keep that from happening to our viewers. Stay with us.
K-pop boy band B184 has released a new mini album yesterday, and it has been trending online since.
And the music and the lyrics of their title song were all written by the group members, apparently, so quite impressive. For more on this and other keywords, our Seo Mi-sorang joins us from the digital room. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, the music video to Solo Day, the title song, is also out, so let's take a quick look. Next up, we've got some good news for the mum and dads out there with little ones to look after. Soon you'll be able to use childcare centers on an hourly basis. In 2 weeks from now, some 70 childcare centers nationwide will start trialing a new system where they charge parents per hour as opposed to per day. So as you can imagine, this will make the centers more accessible for the parents who work part-time or when they have a quick errand to do and need someone to look after their child for that hour or so. Moving on, President Park Geun-hye's long-awaited Inter-Korean Committee on Preparing for Unification will launch today, while these two Winter Olympic champions are named honorary ambassadors for the upcoming Incheon Asia Games. Lee Sang-hwa on the right there is a 3-time gold medalist at the Olympics, while Park Seung-hee on the left there has 2 gold and 3 bronze Olympic medals to her name. And lastly, a word of warning regarding wasp attacks. As temperatures rise this summer, so does wasp activity, meaning that we all need to be extra careful when heading outdoors. As an example of just how severe the situation is, in just this past weekend, there were 600 separate calls to the fire department asking them to come and remove active wasp hives. Now, what's more surprising is that this number is not a nationwide number, but is just looking at the Gyeonggi-do province alone. They say if you do disturb a wasp hive by accident, experts advise that you should stop where you are and slowly lower your body to the ground to minimize the likelihood of a wasp attack. And on that note, that's a wrap up for today's edition of your Daily News Sum Up.
Two lanes were blocked yesterday for more than 6 hours at an expressway that runs along Korea's west coast after the scorching heat damaged some parts of the road.
It could have really led to a huge accident if a driver unknowingly passed through the patch. And so the Land and Transport Ministry just last week launched a trial service for the world's first smart highway designed to prevent such accidents. We'll learn the details from this next report.
Even the smallest of mistakes on the highway can lead to major accidents and the loss of lives. To prevent these accidents by identifying potential elements of danger, a new technology to create a smart highway has been developed. As the cars enter the highway, they connect to the smart highway system and gain access to all the data provided.
The smart highway is a safe, easy-to-use, intelligent expressway that combines cutting-edge information technology with automobile and road technology. If there are any unexpected situation on the road ahead, such as ice on the road, a car that has pulled over suddenly, or an accident, it provides people with that information in real time.
Until now, highways were only equipped with surveillance cameras. But on smart highways, there are structures called multipoles installed every 1 kilometer. On these multipoles, there are panorama cameras and radar detectors that can detect unexpected changes using electronic waves. There's also a wireless base station that transmits this information to the vehicles. This equipment works simultaneously to identify cars within a 500-meter radius and monitor their location, speed, and state every 0.1 seconds. What makes this possible is a wireless communication technology called WAVE.
WAVE technology is an international standard that has been created to prevent accidents, altering existing wireless technology so that it works for automobiles. It's a wireless communication technology that works in the standard 5.8 gigahertz range.
WAVE is hooked up to a network and comes with multiple benefits. It can send updated data to vehicles within a 1 kilometer radius on current road conditions. For example, it can detect sudden changes on the roads, such as car accidents. And we set up a test to see if real-time detection is possible. As the car runs on the road, if there is an accident ahead, the system identifies the change and notifies the driver. Also, information is sent to the center manager to make sure the accident is quickly taken care of. If there is debris ahead, it also alerts people in order to prevent secondary accidents. Changes in weather conditions are also transmitted to allow for safer driving. Another benefit WAVE provides is the fact that it allows for intercommunication between vehicles in real time. For example, if the car right in front brakes suddenly, the car behind it will detect this and signal the driver. For emergency vehicles, the system can alert drivers in other cars to clear the road for passage. The WAVE system comes with another function that provides convenience for others. Even at a high speed, driving at 200 kilometers, it provides a stable data transmission, and using this, people can not only use their smartphone handsets, but also tablet devices for more information on safety and convenience.
Traffic condition.
Tell me your destination.
Kamgok interchange.
There's also a voice-controlled virtual VMS service that provides info in real time depending on the location and direction of the vehicle. If the driver nods off while driving and veers off course, the system sends out a signal and prevents any potential accidents.
In the past, there have been revolutionary ways to radically improve road safety, such as developing the airbag. The smart highway will also bring about effects such as that, and that's why we are working on developing related technologies.
With this cutting-edge smart highway system, a safer environment and added convenience is expected to be created for drivers.
And to tell us more about this service, joining us this morning is Mr. Lee Eui-jun, Managing Director of this project from the Korea Expressway Corporation. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to have opportunity to introduce Smart Eye Research Project.
All right, well, it's our pleasure to learn about this great service. Now, a lot of countries, it seems like, are really moving quickly to establish this smart highway service. Why is this considered important?
The goal of Smart Highway Research Project is to make expressway more safe and convenient and intelligent by converging advanced IT technology and vehicle and road infrastructure. To reduce traffic accident and congestion, advanced countries such as USA and European countries are researching various technology related to smart eye technology. Because safety is a global issue, so advanced countries are trying with more effort to preoccupy market that was related to smart eye technology. Mm-hmm. Korea is the first country of the world to make and apply smart eye technology existing actual expressway.
So if we wanted to use this smart highway service, do we have to install a separate unit in our cars?
For using smart highway system, each vehicle have to install a terminal which can communicate with other terminal through wireless communication station, which is installed roadside equipment. If a vehicle stops suddenly in front of my car or obstruction appeared on the road, such information immediately shared through wireless communication between vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to infrastructure. Now we are test stage. Terminal have to installed each vehicle, but in the near future, every new vehicle will have this terminal pre-installed. Mm-hmm. So people can use this terminal at a cheaper price compared to now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it could come as an option in your car, such as power windows or maybe navigation system maybe. But once this infrastructure is in place, and it will take several years to do that though, once it is in place, what kind of results are we expecting, decrease in accidents and such?
If smart highway is built, traffic accident can be reduced up to 80%. And traffic congestion also can be relieved up to 15%. Mm-hmm. By implementing smart highway technology, its expected effect by solving traffic accident and congestion can be calculated into 2.8 billion US dollar annually.
That is a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Now, how close are we to seeing a full commercialization?
The Korean government is built smart eye test road located on Gyeongbu Expressway. It started to operate from Seoul Tollgate to Suwon Interchange, 11 kilometers long from 7th of July. If wireless communication is stabilized and verified after test load operation in 2 or 3 years, we have a plan to extend increasingly smart highway system. It is expected commercial service will be launched from 2017 through the development of various applications. For more information on smart highway research output, you can access our website.
2017, that's not very far away. You know, it goes away, it just goes by in a blink of an eye.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. We'll look forward to seeing the full operation of this smart highway to prevent accidents. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and this great service with us this morning.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me.
Any good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the Incheon Asian Games, which will, of course, begin in September. Now, the big news here in the nation is, of course, the participation of the North Korean athletes, and it seems like they'll send more athletes than first expected. Well, North Korea initially stated that they would send 70 male and 80 female athletes for a total of 150 athletes to Incheon. They have now unofficially stated that they want to send more athletes. This according to Kim Young-soo, the head of the organizing committee. Now, with the working level talks scheduled on Thursday between the two Koreas at the Truce Village of Panmunjom, the number of North Korean delegation could be determined at that time. Now, the last time Korean football fans had a chance to see Son Heung-min play was, of course, during the heartbreaking 1-0 loss to Belgium during the group stages of the World Cup. Now, they can see him again, this time in a different uniform, but here in Korea. Now, with Son Heung-min's German club team Bayer Leverkusen set to play against FC Seoul at the end of the month during their Korea Tour 2014, set to play at least 45 minutes of the friendly. The German side will arrive on the 29th of this month and will hold their friendly at the Seoul World Cup Stadium on the following day. And now finishing things off, the 2014 Brazil World Cup has come to an end after Germany beat Argentina for their 4th title. But aside from that, what were some of the more memorable moments or stories during the tournament? Well, taking a look, first off, everyone would agree that the defending champions Spain crashing out of the group stages was one of the craziest surprise and upsets, which makes him one of the more unforgettable moments. But then there was Brazil, who lost to Germany 7-1 in their semifinals, which could not have been predicted even by the greatest experts in football. And then, of course, who can forget Luis Suarez, who decided to bite Italy's Giorgio Chiellini on the shoulder, leading to a 4-month ban. 2014 Brazil World Cup definitely had its moments. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
With the intense heat kicking in earlier than usual, more people are heading to swimming pools to cool off. Just like at swimming pools and other public places where many people gather, viruses or contaminants can penetrate the eye and cause infections. According to the Korea's Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the number of patients with epidemic keratoconjunctivitis from June 1st to 7th was 16.5 per 1,000 people, 4.4 more than the previous week. The most common eye infections in the summer are epidemic keratoconjunctivitis, which is highly contagious, acute hemorrhagic conjunctivitis, and pharyngoconjunctival fever that comes with a high fever and pain in the pharynx. Infectious eye diseases may seriously worsen eyesight, so we take a look at how to prevent and treat these conditions.
It's really odd. Every time we talk about eye diseases, you get an itchy sensation in your eyes.
You get an eye infection.
You just feel like rubbing it, right? And to tell us more about eye infections, joining us is Dr. Kim Min from the Gangnam Severance Hospital. Good morning.
Good morning.
And also our regular, Dr. Nam Dong-woo from the Gyeonggi University Korean Medicine Hospital. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I think the question is, number one, we did see several different conditions of the eye. Which one of it is the most dangerous? We'll go with you first, Dr. Kim.
Sure. Viral conjunctivitis is an eye condition that's caused by viral infection, and the three types that were just mentioned previously are essentially all within the same spectrum of viral infection, and they all can be highly contagious. And depending on the specific type of viruses that's causing the disease, they can be classified into three different types, but they have slightly different clinical features, but they can all be highly contagious. So you should be careful about all three of them.
All three of them?
All three. Yeah, but epidemic keratoconjunctivitis is the most common one. So that's the one that you should be most careful about.
Which one's the most detrimental? Let's say, for example, you don't treat it.
All three of them, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Simple
That's bad news for all of us.
Doesn't matter what you get.
Right, they're all bad.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Nam, are there any specific people that are more vulnerable to these eye diseases?
Well, people with lower immunity will be more vulnerable. So young children or teenagers and elderly patients will be more vulnerable. And in Korean medicine, the eye is related with the liver. So Taeangin who have more weaker liver functions will be more vulnerable to eye diseases. And the kidney relates with the immune system. So Soyangin who have weaker kidney functions will be more vulnerable to infections. And as for Taeomin, who tend to be very damp and have a lot of heat in their body, will be more vulnerable to inflammations. So according to which type of person you are, the more vulnerable disease will be different.
Because there's a theory to it, the type of your body that you have.
And I wear contact lenses, and Chinju, I believe, has had a corrective eye surgery, and Young is completely fine, I think.
I had corrective eye surgery.
Oh, you do? Oh, you guys are
This is my secret.
We're vulnerable. Me or these two?
Well,
we'll start with you. Say corrective eye surgery, please.
Okay. Like I said before, viral conjunctivitis is highly contagious. So if you're a contact lens wearer and let's say that your hands are infected with virus and you touch your contact lens with your contaminated hands and you just put on the contact lens, you basically inoculate virus directly onto your eye by wearing those contact lenses. So you definitely increase your chance of getting infection. And if you recently had refractive surgery such as LASIK or LASIK, then you could become more vulnerable to viral infections as well. But if you had it a while ago, then you shouldn't really need to worry about it.
So everyone's vulnerable. Like,
I have this
it's not
question.
discriminative. Yeah, right?
You're right, but LASIK and LASIK, it involves a different type of procedure. Is there a difference when it comes to eye diseases for people who've had LASIK as opposed to people who've had LASIK?
Well, with regard to viral conjunctivitis, there really isn't much difference at all. But if you had LASIK, for example, you are more vulnerable to ocular trauma. For example, if, let's say you suffer some kind of trauma, then you're more likely to have some complications that is associated with the trauma.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you said that these eye diseases are contagious, but how contagious are they? I mean, just being in the same room or using the same towel, or you just by looking at the infected eyes, do you catch them? Or, I mean, this might be a silly question, but how contagious are we talking about?
Well, there are some expressions such as that you can get infected just by eye contact or being in the same space, but you can't just literally get transferred through eye contact. Maybe if you touch the tears or sleep of the infected patients, or maybe you touch the straps on the subway or the buses, or maybe you have contact with the contaminated water at the public pool, that can transfer the infections.
All right, so best advice there is to wash your hands and don't rub your eyes until you do wash your hands, right? But if you do get some kind of viral eye disease, then what are some of the treatment options out there, both in Korean as well as traditional Western medicine, or traditional Korean and Western medicine? I said that wrong, but we'll take a look at this next report.
In Western medicine, if a patient is thought to have an infectious eye disease, they receive a test for eyesight, intraocular pressure, and their eyes are examined using a microscope.
How bad things have been and for how long, whether there has been discharge. These kind of symptoms are the most important. After that, it's necessary to examine the eyes with a microscope to see whether there is something wrong with the cornea or if there is an infection.
After going through detailed examinations and being diagnosed, patients are administered with 2 or 3 antibiotic eye drops once a day. In Korean medicine, a treatment called ampoja raksul, acupressure massages, and chuna treatment in the neck area are used to treat eye conditions. Ampoja raksul exposes the eyelid and uses acupuncture to draw out the bad blood and contaminants inside.
There's an acupuncture method called ampoja raksul from the book of Dongi Bogan. When you have an eye disease, all the bad energy collects in the eyelid and it needs to be purged. This treatment is called ampoja raksul.
Artificial tears made from herbal ingredients containing a cooler energy are also used to control the heat level in the eyes. Massaging the muscles behind the neck, which prevents heat from getting to the eyes, is also another treatment method used.
Ooh, that looks painful, the rubbing the inside of your eyes.
I'm going to have to go with the Western treatment on this.
No offense to you, sir. All right, well, I've seen people with eye infections try to rinse their eyes with salt water or saline water. Is this recommended?
No, absolutely not, actually. Rinsing your eye using saline or salt water might make you feel a little better at the time, but doing so could actually aggravate your eye condition. So I recommend using artificial eye drops instead. Yes, viral conjunctivitis is a self-limiting disease, meaning that it usually goes away spontaneously within a week or so. So if you keep having constant red eye or ocular pain or decrease in vision, then I recommend that you go see your eye doctor immediately. Yeah.
Okay, so stay away from the saline wash. Get the best diagnosis from a doctor.
Right.
In Korean medicine, we know we were told that through the report that heat plays a large role. That it's important to get heat away. Tell us a little bit about this, doctor.
Well, heat can develop into inflammation, so it is important to control the heat. So if you receive acupuncture treatment or massage regularly around the eye areas, it can prevent the stagnation of the heat. So that will be a major method to prevent eye diseases.
And before we let you guys go, we all know that washing our hands thoroughly and frequently is the best way to prevent eye infection. But are there any other simple tips that we can use in our daily lives?
Yes. Viral conjunctivitis is usually transmitted through direct contact with the virus. So you should try to avoid sharing towels with other people or being in direct physical contact with those who already have viral conjunctivitis. And of course, you should, like you said, you should always wash your hands more frequently and thoroughly. And if you go to places like swimming pool, you should try to avoid rubbing your eyes with your hands and make sure that you always do a good job of washing your hands.
That's where most of the infections occur, especially in children. You take them down to the local
They
pool.
just rub their eyes and you tell them stop and they won't stop. It's quite, what about in Korean traditional medicine?
Also, you should try to prevent your shoulders and your neck from getting too stiff. If these areas get so stiff, it will disturb the circulation to the face or to the eyes, so this will eventually develop into heat. And also tea, such as gukwacha or mindile-cha, can help prevent the infections.
Do you happen to have some with you today?
Next time, maybe.
Well, thank you to both of you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
All right, well, that just about does it for this edition of Korea Today.
And remember, wash your hands and don't rub your eyes. Try to keep those hands away from the eyes. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.